We are the bee, 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 we are the bee.
And it must be remembered that we are in the preliminary stage of one of the greatest battles in history. That the air battle is continuous, and that many preparations have to be made here at home. You ask, what is our policy? I will say, it is to wage war by sea, land, and air, with all our might, and with all the strength that God can give us.
Hey guys, Andy and Johnny here with Beards and Bibles.
B&B.
B&B, but not Airbnb, even though this is coming over the air to you through
Airwaves.
Wi-Fi's and internets and cellular signals and whatnots.
Through your phones and maybe your computers.
Magic. We're still not an Airbnb.
Yeah. Anyways, welcome to Beards and Bibles.
Beards and Bibles.
We are here today because today is a very special day.
Awesome day. Today is Easter.
And we wanted to put something together about Easter because, for one, we are a Christian-based channel.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we do comedy and act stupid and stuff, but our number one priority is Jesus.
Yes.
And we love Bibles, and we love beards.
We love our beards.
That's what we do here. So anyways, we want to talk about how Easter relates to today.
And, you know, it's funny because we were talking about what we were going to put together for this video, and we kind of got on the subject of how this Easter is different from pretty much any Easter that I've ever experienced, you've ever experienced,
Same.
and honestly probably any person alive that's ever experienced an Easter before. This is different from any Easter that any of us have ever went through because of the situation, the COVID-19 coronavirus stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, for the first time, nobody's going to be able to wake up and have those, you know, that early morning church service. And if you've got kids, I mean, a big part of the tradition is
Easter egg.
Yeah, waking up and you got the Easter basket, and I mean, I don't know if it's like this at your house, but at my house, I mean, the Easter bunny comes overnight and leaves, you know, gifts and stuff. It's like mini Christmas.
I mean, at my house, we basically just we wake up, of course, we put on, you know, Easter clothes. Easter clothes is a big thing.
Yeah.
We all try to match.
It's like the Super Bowl of your Sunday best.
Exactly. And you know, we spend that day, like the kids go Easter egg hunting and stuff. We you know, cook out or whatever if we can, if it's not pouring the rain, and spend time with family,
with church,
and you know, just reminisce on.
And then everybody
Easter.
You have a big dinner, and then usually an Easter egg hunt at some point. And literally, almost none of that's the same this year.
Nope.
I mean, it's funny because, I mean, we, you know, not many people, I mean, Johnny and I will still be waking up and going to church, but it's not so that we can necessarily have church at church.
Right.
We're going to be getting up and we're going to be putting on an online service with our praise and worship team and our pastor for our church congregation.
Yep.
I can go ahead and tell you that because I have nobody to impress and I will not be on camera tomorrow, my attire will probably look very similar to what I'm wearing now. It'll probably be a t-shirt, blue jeans, maybe a hat. I don't know. Just depends on what happens.
Well, and also, you know, where we're online service and stuff, you know, I don't really think anybody is planning on really dressing up.
No. What's the point of dressing up when you don't have anywhere to go?
Right. A big reason about dressing up is because people that normally don't come to church come to church, and you know, they dress up because a very important day in Christianity.
Yeah.
And everybody just dresses up, tries to look nice. I think a big reason why a lot of people dress up is because the people who don't go to church all the time, they like to get their picture taken.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we go to, we went to church this morning. Look how nice we look.
Honestly, we dress to impress.
I mean, yeah.
And it's, a lot of, and listen, I know that there's going to be people that say, oh, I put on my best for Jesus. Well, I can guarantee you right now that Jesus does not care about your three-piece suit and tie, nor does he care about your elegant Easter dress.
Right.
And if you're a guy wearing an Easter dress, then you've got a lot of other problems that Jesus is probably going to address at a different time. But Jesus
he
doesn't care about any of that stuff. Jesus doesn't care about us wearing our finest clothes to church. Jesus cares about us giving our finest things, our finest offerings to him.
Yeah.
So unless you plan on giving that three-piece suit away after tomorrow, then you're just wearing a suit.
Mm-hmm.
But so, I think I kind of went off the beaten path there. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. So one main thing that we wanted to talk about on how today's time and this situation refers to the time when Jesus was crucified and rose again. We talk about isolation. So, back then...
And before we go any further, if you're a parent and you're watching this video right now, and I just want you to know, tomorrow, Easter, we're recording this the day before Easter. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say tomorrow, but I mean today.
Yeah.
For you guys that are watching this at home. But today you have, as a parent, a very, very, very good opportunity, one of the best opportunities that you're ever going to get to talk to your children about Jesus. Mm-hmm. Because for once, we're not sending our kids to Sunday school. We're not letting a pastor tell our kids about what Jesus did and what happened on Easter. This day, this Easter of 2020, that responsibility is on you guys. Yeah. It's on me, it's on Johnny to talk with our kids about what Easter really is. And one of the things that Johnny and I talked about when a lot of people talk about Easter, they talk about Jesus being arrested. Mm-hmm. They talk about Jesus being put on trial. They talk about Judas. They talk about the beatings. They talk about the other trial. And then they talk about the crucifixion. And the thing is, those events actually happened on Good Friday. Mm-hmm. Today, we want to be here and we want to talk about Easter.
Yeah.
We want to talk about what Easter is. This is Resurrection Sunday.
I mean, it's what all we've been waiting for. So it's like today in our times, we could be going through a monster storm in our life, and we could be going through the toughest time in our life, and it feels like no one's with us. It feels like we're by ourselves, and everybody just keeps putting us down. Stress, COVID-19, all this stuff just hammering at us.
And the world is telling everybody right now, you can't do that. You can't be
you can't go out.
You can't be a Christian right now. I mean, they're not telling us we can't be Christians, but they definitely don't want us getting out and about and interacting with people. And for a lot of Christians right now, it's a hard time to be alive because that's all we know. Mm-hmm. It's all we know. I mean, the church right now is having to radically change the way they approach every bit of outreach. Yep. Because right now, that's all you can do is outreach. There is no in-building services.
Right.
And what we're also discovering, a lot of churches are discovering, is that the church is not a building. They're discovering that the church is a group of people.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily all have to be in the same place.
Exactly.
To still be a church.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the most effective way.
It's awesome.
I mean, you don't have, I don't have to be next to him to feel the power and the glory coming off of him. If we're in agreement, we can be in agreement at the house. In agreement at the house. We can be in agreement at work. Now, I'm saying that, but that doesn't mean that church isn't important. Going to church isn't important.
I mean, I miss church services.
We miss it, but in this time, we do what we got to do.
We do what we have to do.
And you know, like I was saying, storms and trials in life and stuff right now, the COVID-19, you know, it feels like Friday. It feels like we're just getting beat at every corner.
It feels like Sunday morning. I mean, it feels like Saturday.
Yeah, if it feels like Saturday, we don't know when, you know, the time that's going to be let up.
And this is what we're getting at right now when I say that you have the opportunity to, like, a prime opportunity to teach your children, because your children, for once, are going to be able to identify with what the followers of Jesus, the disciples, went through at that time. Because they were living in a time that the status quo that they were used to was radically changed. Mm-hmm. Everything that they had grown accustomed to and the things that they were comfortable, that had made them comfortable, were taken away from them. And much like with this COVID-19 situation, we've been told, you know, eventually this is going to be over. But you start, much like the disciples, Jesus had been telling them, I'm coming back. Give me 3 days, I'm coming back. I mean, and it wasn't just the disciples that knew this. Everybody knew that Jesus had said this. The Pharisees knew that Jesus was telling people, I'll be back in 3 days. Mm-hmm. So right now you have a time that you and your children can identify with these disciples. Because, you know, coming into Sunday morning, these guys are afraid. They're in isolation, much like a lot of us are in isolation right now.
The followers of Christ at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, you know, they were depressed. And I'd say that there's a lot of people at home right now that are dealing with that same kind of depression. Yep. And they're just not sure what direction things are going to go. They, you know, much like the disciples, nobody feels safe being out and about right now.
Exactly.
Completely different reasons as to why.
Yeah. But it's something to relate.
It's something to be able to, give you a way to relate to.
So basically, if you're teaching your kids or anybody about this, you can relate our times with those times. In, you know, it's not an exact, because the staying indoors now is to stay safe from a virus. Staying indoors then was because you was afraid to go out because you're going to be executed. You're going to be executed. Well, you know, it's just kind of a way to relate. But I am so thankful that Jesus did endure all the things that he did. But what I'm most thankful for is him rising.
Yes.
I mean, because he said he was going to do it, and he done it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm proud to be a Christian. Today is the day, you know, it being Sunday, which is tomorrow. It's a day that we shouldn't take for granted.
Not at all.
Us as Christians, we need to you know, tell everyone we know, hey, this is what Jesus did, and this is why you can be forgiven. This is why that you can be saved, because he didn't just do the first part. He done the second part too. He took the beatings, he took the pain, he took the trial, betrayal, the pressure of having to do it. He took all that. Yeah, we know that story. But the one that's usually forgotten is him coming from the dead.
I mean, like literally
being alive again.
For the past 30 some odd years, all I've been, you go to Easter and you hear, like, you'll hear a preacher preach about Easter, and they'll say, children, Jesus, he was arrested in the middle of the night, and then he was taken and he was put on trial, and then he was beaten with a cat o' nine tails, and the flesh was ripped from his bone, children. But don't you worry, because even after he was put on that cross, he said, I'm a coming back. I'm coming back in 3 days. And on children, glory, hallelujah, children. On the 3rd day, the stone was rolled away, and he is arisen. Hallelujah. Can I get an amen? Hallelujah. And literally, 30 years, that's what I've been hearing. Now, like 20% of what I just said and what I quoted to you was about Easter. The other 80% was about Good Friday. You've got an opportunity here to not have to just keep on beating Good Friday to death. To talk about the things that happened when he rose. And talk about some of the things, like there were stories that a lot of us forget about. I mean, when we were talking about what we wanted to discuss for Easter, we started talking about the Pharisees and how they plotted. And it wasn't just how they plotted to get Jesus to the cross, but it was what they plotted after he had already died.
Yeah. After they already knew. They knew the facts. They knew that he had risen. But yet, they were told that to tell them that in the night, the disciples came and stole him away.
Yeah.
And
so
even though they knew that he had been gone.
When Jesus was put in the tomb and the stone was rolled in front of the sepulcher, they basically went to Pilate and they said, "Listen, we have this idea that the disciples are going to come in the middle of the night and steal Jesus' body away because he's been telling everybody that he's going to come back in 3 days. So we want you to put Roman guards in front of the sepulcher." And Pilate humored them because one of the things that Pilate was most afraid of was an uprising. Mm-hmm. He was afraid of a riot. Mm-hmm. And, he wanted to make sure that control was maintained for him in Jerusalem at that time. So after Jesus rose from the dead, after he walked out of his tomb, and the Pharisees have been hearing that people have been seeing Jesus left and right, they basically go up to these Roman soldiers and they pay them to say that the disciples came in the middle of the night and they stole his body.
Yep.
And they actually used that to propagate a lie.
Yeah.
For a very long time. And we discussed what we were talking about with our pastor, just how people were in disbelief about this, about how people could not understand what was going on, and why would people be saying that Jesus rose from the dead when we've got 2 witnesses that say that the disciples came in the middle of the night. Well, your proof in the fact that the disciples did not come in the middle of the night is in the fact that every one of those disciples, save John, went to a very, very brutal death.
Yeah.
Every one of them was executed. And a person is not going to be executed
over keeping a lie.
Over a lie.
Yeah.
If they had stole Jesus' body away, I guarantee you, the moment that Peter got taken to that cross, his was a sideways cross, and he was, crucified upside down. When he got there, that'd be the point where I'd be like, you know what? No, you know what? I lied. Mm-hmm. No, this is true.
Well, and the thing about it is even while Jesus was alive, it's easier to say one thing to somebody's face and say one thing behind their back once you know that they're gone. Just plain and simple, it's easy. But to his face, he said, "I'm not going to deny you." And then at the trial or wherever it was
at the trial,
he denied him 3 times.
3 times.
So, Peter, of all people, even though I relate to Peter, but if he wouldn't have stood for a lie, he would have eventually told the truth. But he did. He told the truth anyway.
Yeah.
Because he died a brutal death.
Yeah.
Because it's true. It's 100% true.
Why would you take the risk of being killed for something that's not true. I mean, that'd be essentially like me taking this clipboard and telling Johnny that somebody just walked up and stole it. And Johnny, keeps on questioning me, and I'm like, yeah, somebody stole it. And then, like, Johnny puts a gun to my head. Well, at that point, either I'm going to tell him the truth about the clipboard and give it back, or just at least tell him the truth about it. Or what? Am I going to die for this lie that I've told?
No.
Versus if you go and you're telling the truth about the thing the whole time, that the situation about the clipboard is as you said it was, you realize that a truth or a lie isn't going to make a difference. You're going to die anyway. So you might as well tell the truth. That's what the disciples did. When Jesus rose from the dead, he didn't just show himself to a couple of people. I mean, he popped up like a whack-a-mole game, just everywhere. I mean, and literally just everywhere you look, Jesus was popping up.
It was known.
It was known
that he rose.
To me, it's just, it's something that I think we should focus on. Because not only are we looking at, today being Resurrection Sunday, but in just a few, 40 days from now, the day of Pentecost is coming up in 40 days. And there's a lot of stuff that happens on the day of Pentecost that's directly tied to the things that happened on Resurrection Sunday. So use this as a teaching opportunity to talk to your kids, talk to each other, and then most importantly, this is a day of joy. This is a day of celebration because Christ is risen. Mm-hmm. So right now, in today's times, more than any time before, this is a time to spread that joy. So what I actually want to do, and kind of wrapping this whole thing up, Johnny, is I want to challenge you guys to do something. You don't have to put anything down in the comments section below because, interaction like that is just asking for a lot. But what I want to challenge you guys is this for Easter Sunday, for Resurrection Sunday. Because he is risen, I want you to take that joy that people got in their hearts seeing the living, breathing Christ walking the earth again. And I want you to spread that to somebody else. And the cool thing is you can still stay safe at home and spread that joy. Reach out to somebody. Because there are people right now that are still in isolation that don't know about that joy yet.
Yep.
There are disciples that word hasn't got to them yet. Mm-hmm. And maybe you're the person that is supposed to go and tell them the good news that he is risen.
Well, and, if you're scared to do that, because I know that witnessing to people is one of the hardest things that you could ever make yourself do. But just remember this, that the same Spirit that rose Jesus from the grave lives inside of you.
Each and every one of you.
So if he was to, if the Spirit was strong enough to raise Jesus from the grave, then it's strong enough to protect you. It's strong enough to guide you. It's strong enough to help you along your way and conquer any battle that you're facing. So go ahead, complete that challenge. And I know Andy said you don't have to put a comment or anything, but let us know that you completed that challenge. That would be awesome.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
Totally cool of you. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all we've got for today. Mm-hmm. We appreciate you guys. We love each and every one of you. We hope that you guys are having a great Easter at home with your families and your loved ones and
your dogs and cats.
Your dogs and cats. But just remember that no matter where you are right now, no matter what you're going through, and no matter how bad things may seem right now, you're not alone. Because like Johnny said, Jesus is with each and every one of us all the time. So with that being said, we love you guys. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.